don't finalize.
Yeah.
Oops. Even that we are not finalizing it, like today or tomorrow. It takes some time to make everything tight, right? So, but anyway, so we developed it. I made this mirror board for like a proposal for the EkoNavi team we made together that we could launch a token right now, and that we would show like in a kind of a plot, like the idea that we want to build. And basically, like if you buy that, we were thinking just to put it in OpenSea. And if you buy the token, you can access in the EkoNavi page and you can have access to the projects. So should I share the link here? What do you think?
Yeah, I think you can share the link, and if you want to, I can you can share your screen if you want to do that.
Okay, I can share the screen also.
Let me set that up. There, you should be able to share the screen now. Is that working? Oh, there we go. Good.
Okay, so we made like 7 slides, let's say, to try to explain it like very objectively, So basically, the idea that we are building is inside of the EkoNavi EkoToken, just a name, We decided to start like this, and like we've been saying, talking about carbon and these things. So, and that EkoNavi wants to go a bit further than the carbon, but not like being away from the carbon, let's say. So we are saying that our token, it can verify, it can bring improved biodiversity, fertility to the soil, all these things that agroforests can bring. Our token will be able to bring. And also, not that we are doing like CO2 numbers now, but I think that everything that this token is verifying, it's conversible to carbon measures. You just have to define a methodology for it. And so in the other side, so the token, the people that receive the funds, they're gonna work to show improved biodiversity, fertility of the soil, and all these things. They're gonna offer this as a certificate. And on the other hand, the token holders, they're gonna have some benefits, like right now, like they will be able to buy things in our markets. So for instance, I'm gonna bring some products from units like chocolate or cereal bars, more in the Brazilian markets right now, I believe. So, if you have one token, one EkoToken, or only one, you can have like 5% discount. Each product will be defined, like each product I'm negotiating separately. So some will give more discount, some will give less. And we also want to, if we ever create something after this, we also going to extend the benefits for these first holders. So if we create a token with Regen or with someone else, and we want to advance this project, we'll bring these people, they'll be already onboarded, let's say, in our Web3 journey. So they'll be like, these first ones will be like our originators, let's say, something like this. And like, I think the most important is this certification thing. So like people are buying certification. So they support a project and we give them like details of this project, what was planted, numbers of carbon, numbers of biodiversity, and they can use it. They can convert it if we advance, we can convert this to other carbon methodologies, but we have a base to, or it can get value as a mixed method credit. Anyway, we are having this design that combines the logo and the sun and the gold. We are choosing the price of $10. It can because we think it's a price that and we chose 100 tokens because we are planning to raise just $1,000. So it's really like a plot. And for the close people of EkoNavi that wants to see some action, and we chose this pricing, $10. And you can also buy with fiat. So since EkoNavi works with people that are still in Web2, this is going to be their opportunity to download a wallet, so even if they buy with fiat, we are going to send them like instructions to create a wallet, and I'm going to send the token after. Like in the worst case scenario, we're going to keep the token in custody. Like if somehow I can't manage this, I'm sorry. Say, okay, we keep it for you. But we're going to have, some people that are going to download the wallet for the first time. And that's also part of this activity, to educate people. I have already, some people that are asking some projects that, oh, I want to, let's try this, because for instance, we sold an NFT in Stargaze a couple of months ago. And this NFT, the funds went to a project. We made a contest in the website, 10 projects applied. One was elected the winner. And this project is building a nursery in the northeast of Brazil. So this is going to be our first agreement that we are making with the project. So they're going to make a nursery. It's not exactly a planting. It's not in the EkoToken yet. It's like a pre-EkoToken system. But yeah, so she already got a token. She learned how to get a wallet. So these people are arriving. They want to participate. They want to see. And we're gonna do this for these ones that already want to test something, how it works. So we leave it the possibility of fiat payment for them. This is like the landing page. So there's gonna be an explanation. You're gonna click on which option you want to pay. That will take you to the proper page. In Brazil, there is this payment option that is called Pix. I don't know, in the US, they don't have, and it's not many countries, but it's a really good payment system because you basically, with your email is a key, so someone just with your email sends you money. So it's very used here. We're going to make it available. And for the holders, like what we're going to show with this one, it's one, let's say like it's one fraction of that paper that we are writing together. So with your token number, you're going to access your user page in EkoNavi, and you're going to see, like if you have one token, you have a certain amount. 2 tokens, you have more. What we're going to do is I'm going to break the projects into the amount of tokens, and that's the basic for the numbers. So if we regenerate 1,000 square meters, that means that every 100 tokens, so that's 100 meters per token, something like that, right? So you get like the percentage of area planted per token, and and you're gonna see also the varieties you're gonna plant. And you're not just planting trees, because we're gonna, like the budgets we're gonna accept, it's gonna vary. Look, like the prices that a project pays in the north is different from the price of the south. I'm just being like reasonable, like what they ask. So let's say like for one first project, they want to regenerate 1/4 of a hectare, and she asked for $300 to plant like 300 trees and plus like 1,000 medicinals. So, like it doesn't include, for example, the inputs, but in another project, they include the inputs, but they produce their own plants. So they don't need to ask money for plants. So it's really going to be like flexible this first round. I'm going to take like 4 projects. One is already confirmed, and but basically the token buyer, he sees like what he plants, the amounts. We can convert it to carbon after. We can add the other features that we were thinking. And like most of it, I think you're going to be able to follow the project. So you see the number of the area, the number and types of species. You have the person that receives the fund has to post, gonna have to put video also. So you make the follow of the project. I think that's more interesting for the side of the holder. He wants to see, he wants to show, oh look, I supported this, and he also learns, oh look, they planted like this, and really like doesn't have like like this amount of carbon per token exactly. We are not doing in this basis. I'm just like being reasonable with the budgets, for the amount of what the person is doing. If it's a reasonable amount for a reasonable budget, like even if there is difference between them, we're just going to collect this data for now, and we can see after, we can change, we can make adaptations. And we also came up with these numbers. Also, this is going to be necessary, further to have more business insight of, if this is really like if this operation can really happen like but for this first one, we think it's reasonable. We're going to destiny 70% for projects. Like I said, I have these 2 on hand that I think it's a good one to show. Totaling 450, we still have something to add. So we are talking about 700. So I can still, put 2 other projects. 20% for EkoNavi, pay the bills, pay the devs, this kind of thing. So like I said, even I don't know, maybe this should be more, but we're gonna see it. I'm talking also with Jahed and other business people from the region team, and discussing these numbers, to see what will be reasonable for a scaling operation. And we thought on the community fund, I think this is like the part where we engage all the EkoNavi projects. So even, if we only like 4 or 5 are benefited for a token release, token batch, the whole community will be able to work on this 10% fund. That's basically to say, to incentivize them to have wallets, to start engaging governance, so we're going to make polls, oh, let's use the money for this, and those who are on board on wallets or are just on board and on EkoNavi for now, they can take decisions, and this will be a way to slowly bring the people to Web3. And so basically it's this, and I made these tables, just an example, how we're gonna organize the buyers and which projects they have contributed. It's gonna be only 100, so I think we can handle it easily. Also for the project, so, we can have like, 20 tokens are paying this project. And then we have the species, the amount per token, the area per token. So the numbers, easily we can make it from it. And then also the qualitative aspects. So I don't know how we're gonna show this in the first batch. Maybe we don't show it a lot, but that's where we're gonna, put some innovation. So every project will have a special aspect that it's, each project has a quality, a unique quality. So we try to bring these aspects, so for instance, woman workforce, people like to see like these things, or this one has elderly workforce. It's a community led project. We also take information on the inputs they're gonna use on the soil, which cover they use, so this is also information because, one agroforest in the north uses soil cover, they use grass. Oh, the other use another type. And this for educational purposes is good because people say, oh, look, this one is using this. Why they use this? And this takes us to other questions for scientific purposes, I think, and that's like what we were trying to propose also in the paper. So we also talk about like wild bees or water management, these things can enter, and we can shape it, with a good team of people, we can shape it in a good way. But basically for this first demonstration, like we have this to show, and one another few aspect of qualitative that will build the storytelling also, because they're gonna post and they're gonna tell their story, And also one thing that for last, like, so okay, we made this explanation, try to be the most objective possible. And so like also for the follow-up of projects, things can go wrong, right? We are, especially if you work with, when you work with qualitative assessment, trust is a big thing, for research, you have to trust that company that makes this research, because you're dealing with words, you're dealing with subjectivities, right? But also in terms of the ground, if you plant and something goes wrong, this can happen, like let's say it's 90% of what you plant, 80% it goes good, but there is always 10 to 20 that can go wrong. So what I'm thinking, what I will propose for this process also is that, okay, someone gets funded, someone starts planting, and in the first month or second month, uh, it can happen a fire or an animal ate or a draft or something. And we can use this also as a, variable. So the person can story tell that, and she can say, oh, look, there was a fire. And also this will take us to other action, because we're going to say, oh, look, they are producing in this way, they're taking care of the soil, of the water, but still this happened. So let's try to understand why these things happen. And also this might take you to some devaluation on a token, maybe, I don't know, maybe not necessary, but we don't, we don't need to say that people has to show that everything is beautiful all the time, everything is, every day is beautiful, it blossom, like it's, I think it's cool if we take this qualitative aspect, and if we let like the reality of the field to come, because like I said, for education, I'll propose for finding solutions, uh, it can be acceptable, but I'm sure that these first ones that we're gonna do, nothing's gonna happen. I'm choosing like the best ones, the most experienced, and but I just saying that we consider this also, but we believe that the flow is more important, the flow of information, the interchange of the community, the exchange of information. This is what really creates the, the hype for the thing and everything else. So that's it. I hope I didn't talk a lot.
No, that's good, Breno. And it's really interesting. There's so many things I really like about your approach. One is that it's simple and you're starting small and have some really creative ideas, which, I think creativity there's a lot of value there. And just, that you're providing the possibility for people to use fiat and use that as a tool to onboard them into the Web3 space, which I think we need to see some more of that. And just the kind of the experimental nature of this whole thing is really interesting. I think it's going to be important for you to be reporting back, occasionally, to let people know how things are going, because I think that you're going to be learning a lot of lessons. But anyway, Ed, you've got your hand up. What's up?
Yeah, I was curious if I've been doing a little research around to wonder, are you doing some kind of a soil test? And because I've been exploring, as I said, and finding that most countries just don't have something like we have in the US, which is like basically the Haney soil test is number one. And we're finding that makes a big difference when we're trying to plant in an area we're not sure of, whether or not we're giving, where the soil's at in health, so that the plant does well, and so that we actually sequester carbon and get the system really functioning, especially with climate issues, put so much stress on the system. And of course, that can, once you stress out these plants or the trees you're planting, that just invites pests and stuff to come in and devastate. So just wondering what you have access to and whether you're doing any soil testing, because a traditional chemical one really doesn't work for a biological system. Thank you.
Great question, Ed. And soil, I think, is the whole basis for agroforestry. So, an agroforester, he's not planting mango. He's making the soil better. The mango is a consequence of taking care of the soil. So all of these projects are really like thinking on soil basis. And like, of course, most of people in the practice, their analysis is looking the color or the shape. But in Brazil, like there is a lot of rural assistance for soil tests. It's not expensive, You can do like a soil test with $10. You can do in a proper lab, it's also like a public lab that does this and offer this in every state. And you pay only $10 and they give you a basic analysis like minerals, pH, these kind of things. I do it. I always do it. Not always, but I like doing. Most of farmers do it, they are concerned about this. I would say that they would do it once a year. For this first round we are launching, I don't want to ask a lot of things because there will be already a lot for them to understand. But like some of them, if they have a soil analysis that they did in the past, like last year or something, and they want to share, it can be cool. But I think like definitely in the continuation of the methodology, we can have it as a standard, so if you want to apply for receiving these funds, you're gonna have to follow some rules, right? And we can definitely have something like test soil analysis once a year. But also for that, I believe that we're gonna need to pay them like for more activities, because if I give to a project now $200, they are only gonna be able to do a certain amount, and maybe this project is gonna invest everything on the planting. So I don't want to bother them to do something else right now. But as we This is going to be definitely, this is going to be in our standard, very important soil. I think to show this and to prove that, you know, like they're doing the right thing. So they can, it's also for them, it's a value because they're going to look in 1 year, they show, look, my soil is better, this and that. My practice is a success, you know. So yeah, we can do it for sure. I saw also, I think you comment on the doc, right? It was also your worry, and I'm taking this in consideration for sure.
Are there other questions for Breno? All right, well, thanks, Breno. That was great. And again, hopefully, you know, we look forward to hearing updates. I think it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be important to hear how things are going because there's a lot that people can learn from this experience. It's really great to see you moving forward on this. I just wanted to spend a brief moment to go over some regen changes in the last month. And also, before I forget, Howard, I wanted to address, you had a question about the link. And I've decided, and I can change the decision, but that I decided to use a unique link each time because if we have the same link, and for example, if the link is my link and I can't make a meeting and say Becca has to go in for me, and then that's been a problem in the past. So if there's another way around that to have a single link for all the meetings, just let me know. I'm not a Zoom expert. So what I've been doing, I've just been including I've been sending out these newsletters with the link in it, and that's just the best solution that I've come up with. But again, if you have ideas or anybody has ideas on how to do this, let me know.
I'm the opposite of a Zoom master. I'm happy now, knowing now the practice to look for a link. I just use recurring calendar entries, which is why I was stuck in the past.
Yeah, and people have talked about doing that again, but when we had that, there were some issues when, you know, if it's my Zoom link and I can't make it, then it becomes a problem. Because then if we change it, then people are habituated to it. So we're trying to get people out of that habit.
Well, yeah, for me, the bigger issue was it was 6:30 in the morning and I was not, I wasn't functioning on all cylinders.
Yeah, no, I know this is a bad time for the West Coast, but we are alternating between 9:30 and noon. So the next meeting will be noon Eastern time, which is a little bit more friendly. But then it's less friendly for people in Europe and Asia and Africa and other places. So we're trying to reach a balance by flopping back and forth.
Yeah, I recall that conversation. I'm fine. I just need to understand the practice. I'll be fine next time.
Okay, super. So on the regen side, I think the biggest news, at least from my perspective, and my perspective doesn't match what everybody else's perspective is in regen for sure, but it seems like that Polygon regen bridge, the two-way bridge that went live is a huge deal for a lot of people. Personally, I just don't fully understand the big deal, but that's probably because I don't fully appreciate it. To me, it's just a lot of gymnastics, you know, with cryptocurrency, which is kind of neat. And it's cool that we can do it, but I'm not super convinced that it's moving the needle too much on ecosystem regeneration. But it is a huge accomplishment, and people in the community, in the crypto community at least, are really excited about it. So that is good. I also wanted to mention that we have at the regen level, we have weekly community calls, and today at noon Eastern time it's Registry Science and Foundation. That's their community call. So every month, the fourth Tuesday of every month at noon Eastern time, or 1 o'clock Eastern time it is, I think. Yeah, 1 Eastern time, 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll have that community call. And 2 weeks before that is the community call for product and basically the rest of regen. So a lot of the validators are there on that call as well. And then between those two calls are the Twitter spaces. So we used to have a Twitter space every week, and now it's every other week. So so you're informed of kind of the regen rhythm around community calls. As far as the Gitcoin round goes, the ReFi group that I've been part of is not entering in that round, but I have another project that I work on. It's called the Wildlife Movement Institute. We've been in the previous 2 Gitcoin rounds, but that we did submit a project for that. It's outside of the regen interest, but if you're interested in animal movement, and it's basically developing open source animal trackers for small animals, please check that out. And if you want some more information, I can certainly send that to you. And I don't know if other people here have some Gitcoin grants, but after I'm done going through this, it would be good to hear what other people are doing. I know, Darren, you were talking about it. Shaila, I think you're probably almost certainly in there as well. So it'd be great to hear about that. Actually, why don't we just go into that now? Shaila, you've got your hand up. Why don't you do some shilling here, I guess.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you for inviting me. This is a really interesting call. Great work you're doing with EkoNavi, Breno. So for this Gitcoin round, we're not just going to be shilling the work that I'm doing with the research of smallholder land stewards, but we're actually changing the game up a little bit and creating this human-centered design workshop where we're going to get all the people pretty much like we are right now, all in one room, but in the different landscapes. So we'll be going in 3 different regions. We'll go into one of the mangrove forests in the coast. We're going to be doing, I think, something in the lakeside and something in the mountains. And what we're going to be doing is bringing academics, researchers, technologists, blockchain developers, all the researchers and some students together, and having them create this open dialogue. So everyone can kind of ask everyone the burning questions that they've been having, and for us to all kind of create a solution that would actually be sustainable on chain. So it's this big test to see whether we're actually building solutions for the people that are actually going to be using them. So it's a big task. And so far, we've already actually fundraised enough for one of the conferences from Filecoin Green Foundation. So now we just want to add a little bit more so that we can even fly in a few experts, a few soil experts, and just different air quality experts, just to get all these different people in the same room to actually have these conversations. Like you said, Ned, you still don't really understand about the blockchain. You know, like what if we were to actually get everyone in the same room so we can stop having these gaps of knowledge and we can actually understand each other. So it's basically just an attempt to see whether this whole ReFi ideology is just in our heads, or whether it's something that the land stewards will actually, create some kind of solution that will help us here in the global south. So I'm actually right now in talks with some policymakers too, who are going to be showing up. And I think that for me, that just having a policymaker and a land steward in the same room is a big win. So I'm really excited about that. So I'll be sharing a link, and I'll post it on Hilo if anyone also wants to shill and propel the story forward. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. And Darren, did you end up submitting a grant? Is that something you want to talk about, or?
Yeah, sure. So I did end up submitting a grant for the knowledge graph concept, which is a topic that I connected with Ned around, because he's also interested in kind of just structuring some information kind of in a graphical way, which is just kind of a different way of storing and curating and sharing information. So, and there's a few other projects that are also kind of interested in this concept. So, yeah, I just created a grant. I put a link in the chat so you can like read about it. But yeah, actually, this is a side project for myself. My main project is actually a regenerative forestry project where we're trying to conserve old growth forests and regenerate other forests. And the idea is like we basically create assets that represent the forest, not as ownership, but as like a new type of legal tenure that sits on top of the land. And it's basically like a land use agreement. We're still early with that, so I don't have much to share with it. But yeah, this is a side project that I've been working on. So yeah, if anyone's interested to connect around like knowledge graphs, knowledge management, feel free to reach out.
All right, thanks, Darren. And Will, did you submit a project? I know you had in the past. Do you want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I did. I submitted. So Ogallala Life is part of a coalition, I guess, or a network called Demeter. And we submitted a grant request as Demeter. And so I'm with it, like, so that includes like, I don't know, SEB of Ecolabs, GMO, and Silly Protocol, a bunch of other kind of groups. And if we're not just building stuff in our heads, which sometimes it feels like we are, kind of resonated with that comment. Like we're building DMRV tools. And so, yeah, connect like the real physical world with smart contracts. And I can't decide, like MRV is most commonly used in like carbon, I don't know, the biological carbon sequestration context, maybe just carbon credits generally. And I can't decide if that's like a good thing or a bad thing. It skews it so very much. But anyway, yeah, we have a grant. So please do support us and I will try to fund it.
All right, thanks, Will.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
Does anybody else here have a Gitcoin grant that they want to talk about?
Hello, everybody. Sorry I was late. I'm Simon, a colleague of Breno on EkoNavi, and we actually were also accepted to the Gitcoin beta round. I guess reflective of the work that we're starting now. I mean, we have validators on for the region network as well as ICSO, and we've always used part of the funds for both planting and education, like supporting workshops and for agroforestry, bioconstruction and such in Brazil. But now that we're really shifting into the next gear of focusing and being proactive on planting and making it the central driving force of the community and of our operations, where we opened a Gitcoin round to sponsor that, I guess, sort of in the continuation of testing the methodology that Breno had presented at the start of the call. So I guess like I'm happy to share the link, and also very cool all of your projects that you have presented. And I think that in many ways there is some outside of the Gitcoin framework, or within some collaboration that can be done, because so for example, Shaila, with what you're doing in Africa, we're starting to get more projects on the EkoNavi map from there and speaking with more people on the ground. Darren, MRV is obviously critical to the processes and to certify methodologies and whatever action we take on the ground. Or no, that's Will was MRV. Yes, yeah, sorry, but agroforestry, biodiversity, reforestation. We could united we stand, no?
All right, thanks, Simon. Is there anybody else that's got a Gitcoin grant that they want to talk about? Howard.
Yeah, it's not about a Gitcoin grant, and if it should wait till later, I will. I was going to update our community biochar program, which that's the scale-up method we've adopted to build on the biochar pilot project that we worked on last year using a grant from Regen. It got us started on a pilot project which produced almost 200 tons now of carbon CO2 equivalent in a nicely sequestered form that we've applied in a variety of settings last year. this year we were fortunate enough to get a grant with a couple of what are called conservation districts. And these conservation districts in 2 of our home counties are funding us to go out into the field and conduct workshops to introduce various communities to the opportunity that producing biochar presents for land stewardship and for forest management. We were able to purchase a couple of ReFi kilns that Kelpie Wilson produces, and we now have those available in our in the future for a loan program, presently for our workshops. And we held our first one with some fire marshals in our area. So we thought we would talk to folks who really know fire and might appreciate pyrolysis and a lot more than anybody else about fire itself. So we had a successful conversation with some of the leaders in that fire safety community, and are beginning in the next couple months a series of community workshops that we hope will generate a great deal of momentum toward biochar becoming a commercialized industry with a supply chain, and we're in the final stages, I say 98% done on getting these credits on the regen registry as a credit class. And most all the work's done. We've had great help from Tika and Sam and others from the Regen Network team to do that work. And it's, I think, about ready to go. We're just waiting for the systems to connect us with the goal, which was the point of the pilot project. We called valorize these biochar credits so that they can return value to the project participants. So it's exciting to be able to demonstrate the proof of concept in these ways.
Yeah, no, I think you're definitely at the forefront of some of this innovation, and I'm not sure what, I mean, just the whole idea of a trust, I think, that sort of a model for around ecosystem regeneration is great. So
thank you, Ned. You've certainly been a great ally and help. And I should have put your name at the top of the list, because you served on our work group and really gave us a lot of the scientific advice that helped us prepare our methodology. And so I should have recognized your important role in our progress. But it's very gratifying, and to feel like we've really getting proof of concept. And just one other note, we have the intention in this next few months, we're planning 2 more pilot projects that we want to take through similar stages of demonstration, so people can see locally that this works here. These natural climate solutions are available, and to get them registered credits and valorized that way.
yeah, no, it's all super. Thanks. So I'm going to just continue on with a couple of more of the regen things. So I mean, I think many of you know that I've been working on this sheep grazing in vineyards methodology, and that hasn't evolved a whole lot. We're just having trouble getting feedback from reviewers, people that have experience with grazing. There are a couple kind of sticky issues that I'm trying to work with. I did finally get the grazing data from the last season, which is in the winter here in the Northern Hemisphere. These vineyards are in Northern California, so they graze after the grape harvest until the leaves start coming out. So they pretty much in the maybe December through March timeframe, something like that. And what I'm trying to do is understand grazing rates, because it's something I wasn't considering when I first put the methodology together. And I have no experience with grazing, so this isn't surprising. But one thing that I was not aware of is that sheep eat grass at different rates. So, depending on the age, the breed, and the sex, and also, some of it's based on the forage, what that's out there. So they'll be consuming forage at different rates. And I'm trying to get my head around ways that we can incorporate that into this kilo sheep hour credit. And it's been a real challenge getting a hold of experts that are willing to kind of talk about some of this, because it is a little confusing. And I'm trying to tease out some patterns in the data to see if I can generate information just strictly from the data. And there are a few vague patterns, but they're certainly not jumping out at me. So anyway, that's keeping me busy, and it's really kind of interesting. In the last call, we did a demo, or I did a demo on the graph database work. And right now that's kind of paused within regen. I think the energy in regen right now is really focused on getting credits on chain. So this idea of a graph database is interesting. I think people are interested in it, but they don't have the time and energy to put into it right now. So I think this idea of making it more of a community effort, and this work that you're doing, Darren, I think is perfect. And I would love to be able to contribute to that. We just need to figure out how to do that. So I think the graph work is still going to continue, but it's going to be probably more at the community level rather than just at a regen level, which is a good thing. I think that the more of a community effort it can be, the better off we're all going to be. And high-low, I don't know, again, I keep putting you guys on the spot, Tika or Rebecca. Would one of you want to give a little update on high-low? There is more activity in high-low, and it's exciting to see. It's building slowly, but it's just neat to see that it is building. It's not, something that we launched and that's kind of petering out. I do think it's building. So would one of you be up for doing that? And apologies again for the last minute putting you on the spot.
No worries. You all can stick around for the community call later for a demo. But yeah, as Ned said, I think we recognize fully that we need a gathering place for all of the different folks that are working on eco-credit development in some way, to connect with us, the registry team, in a more kind of public, open way than siloed emails. And to connect with each other, finding folks that are in your same bioregion or folks that are working on the same sort of type of methodology, sharing different things like EkoNavi, y'all sharing concept notes, starting to get some feedback from both the regen team and from others in the community. So we're trying to build this out thoughtfully. And we have some resources that are coming out, like a community participation guide and a video tutorial. We are working to make it something functional, both for different methodology topical areas and for different processes from the registry, like public comment, and a lot of the work that we're doing on the guide, creating discussion around that. So it's evolving, and feedback is welcome all the time about any piece of it. Yeah, Tika, you want to add anything there? So we welcome, basically, I'll just drop the invite in and welcome anybody who has not had a chance to get into the group, to get in there and introduce yourself or share things, ask questions, check out all of the subgroups within Regen Registry. Will Masters has a land rehydration group. So things are kind of just building out organically, which I think is really awesome.
All right, thanks, Becca.
Sure.
So the only other thing that I wanted to bring up, just in case anybody's interested, and especially if you have expertise in this area, is working with uncertainty. So Giselle Booman, who's been leading the charge with the Carbon Plus methodology, it's a grasslands grazing soil carbon methodology. We're trying to develop robust ways for measuring uncertainty. So this uncertainty goes beyond just measuring error. So we have the sample data, we can easily calculate error around those samples, but we want to estimate uncertainty for the soil carbon maps that we're developing. And the two approaches I'm using, if this means anything to anybody, is quantile regression random forests, and the other is conditional simulation. And that's this conditional simulation, if you've heard of Monte Carlo simulation, it's along that line. But trying to use these simulations to understand uncertainty across an area. For example, in our case, it's across a soil carbon map that we're predicting. So it's really interesting. It's something that's a little outside of the work that I've I've tended to do in the past. So I'm learning a lot, but I'm also easily overwhelmed. So if anybody has an interest, if anybody has expertise, I would certainly welcome that. And if anybody has an interest in what I'm doing, I'm happy to share the work that I'm doing, because I think uncertainty, especially in the carbon markets and other markets, is going to become more important over time. So it's good to start to get your head around how you could use it. So again, just happy to share if anyone's interested. But that's it pretty much for on the regen side of news. Does anybody else have, or does anybody have questions about any of the stuff, or do you have other things that you'd like to bring up, or just kind of let folks on the call know about some of the work that you're doing?
I've got a comment. But one question I had is, do we know how many members we have on the high-low at this moment? Or do we know?
Yeah,
What's
we
that?
do. So we have about 60 folks in the main registry group, and then all the subgroups vary a lot. Some of them are pretty new, have more stuff going on, and some of them don't. But we have about 60 in the main registry group.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I think quality over quantity is where we're at. So
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Ed.
I attended last week the second Zoom on carbon intensity scoring. It's a new thing that's coming out that regen farmers are working on. I'll just try to do it briefly and condensed. There's a project from U.S. Department of Energy. It's connected with basically biofuel industry, and the whole idea is to understand having a low carbon chain on everything that's produced. So if a farmer, so in other words, what a farmer produce gets by, and it's a more holistic than just the carbon. And so a farmer gets a score by a bunch of data put together on how low his impact is on carbon, on fossil fuel use, on chemicals, what he's doing to benefit the soil and everything. And that's connected to the product. And then say industry that wants to buy from a farmer, or anybody that wants to buy from a farmer, can then determine they're buying a low carbon product. And so then that score continues along. It's something that's every year. So it's not what you've done in the past or what you're doing in the future, but tied to what you're doing presently. And what's tied to that product that you're producing that year. Plus it's inclusive to everybody. And a lot of industries now, you know, all the way, whether you're talking Walmart or whatever, they've got to lower the carbon in their whole chain. And so this is really encouraging. The USDA Department of Energy project is a specific little test through some inflation reduction funds, but farmers are looking at they can collect data, and then we could create many different ways. And so far, there isn't a marketplace for this from the people that I've talked to. They're collecting the data. There's several companies, mostly farmer-based companies, that are collecting the data. But the idea is that the many options of marketplaces, and I think that's a real opportunity for something like Regen that has a flexible marketplace. So I just thought I'd mention that. We could get into more details at some point, but there's going to be a bunch more meetings in the next month or two. There's a whole series planned. So I just thought I'd bring it to attention. Thank you.
Ed, are you talking about a marketplace for the data that's being collected, or a marketplace to like create a different kind of credit?
For a different type of a credit, or a whole suite of credits that might be attractive to different types of people trying to lower, doing an offset, whatever, just supporting low carbon products. It's like with anything, you know, with what a farmer produces. If they put it into the commodity market, they can do all these wonderful practices, but they don't gain anything. We don't want to necessarily, like in the organic situation, necessarily just mean that all that money has to be on the consumer to pay that much more or something. So plus, you know, anybody who's already trying to do stuff doesn't necessarily qualify for carbon credits. So it's really looking at a much more holistic way, much more beneficial on the producer end, whether it be a farmer or a land steward or agroforestry or anything like that. Much more tied to the product, which I think a lot more people then you can advertise that, you know, because that's what people want. They want to see a result that makes sense to them. Like, I'm buying something that's really benefiting the earth. And of course, we can tie in, because we've got the research now to tie in nutrient density. So that could be a score that we can do, because we can test now for nutrient density. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thanks. And I agree. I think this is a budding opportunity that needs to, you know, we need to keep our eyes on it and see how it evolves. I mean, it's right now it's, you know, focused on biofuels, but it could be applied to just about anything in ag. If we can develop the markets, there's a lot of potential.
Yeah, we see that the credibility of that concept, because it's a, you know, Department of Energy thing, connected to a way that they evaluate it, you know, gives it a start. But what we look at is just taking the basic concept and just tremendously expanding upon it.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of value there. We need to just be able to get enough time to be able to deal with it. So I think we're at the half-hour mark. Unless anybody has anything else that they want to bring up, I think we'll just bring this to a close and look forward to catching up with everybody next month, 4th Tuesday. It'll be the later session, so that'll be at I think it's noon Eastern time next month. But thanks for everybody for coming along and sharing your stories. It's really is inspiring, and I hope other people appreciate that as well. There's a lot to be said for your good work and your creativity. I think there's so much to be said for creativity. So it's great to see that here.
And before we close, I'm going to drop the Zoom link so everybody can get it for the community call. So hang on one sec.
Okay, yeah.
So we can get that from the horse's mouth. Let's see. All right.
And I think it's at 1 o'clock Eastern time.
All right, Zoom link. All right, see you all there.
All right, everybody, take care.